here we are, 2025, and it's already a year full of new, exciting things. Now, if you don't know me already, my name is Justin Mola. I'm a songwriter, an artist, and an audio engineer based out of Orlando, Florida. And my goal is just to make meaningful, inspiring music that I'm proud of, while also sharing the process with you guys, so that hopefully you can gain some value from it and do the same. Now, something I started thinking about towards the end of last year and wanted to put into action this year was I wanted to start making more longer form content, mostly centered around my personal process of creating a song from an idea in my head and bringing it all the way to a finished product. I wanted to start doing this not only to keep myself accountable and stay consistent with writing and making music, but I also recognized the immense value that I got from watching other people's process when they create music. So with all that being said, I really hope you guys get a ton of value out of watching these videos. Obviously, this is just my personal approach to writing and recording and making music, but my overall goal is just to keep it open door and showcase how I like to create music and hopefully provide you guys with a lot of great music and a lot of value. So with all that being said, let's jump in. Alright, so as you can see, I'm starting off with a completely blank session. All I have is a master fader and a separate output for OBS, which is what I'm pretty much sending everything to record and let you guys hear the audio in the best quality. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is make a click track, and I kind of already hashed out what tempo I feel like the song could be at. So we pretty much have our standard click here. Right, so super stale. I'm probably gonna change that up. But just for reference, so you guys can kind of get a feel for the song I'm producing for this video is called Here to Stay, and I wrote it over the past few days, and I'm super happy with it. It's kind of like a very upbeat, intimate, folky song. But if I grab my guitar real quick, this old Yamaha guitar, first ever guitar I bought for myself. So right now, I have it tuned to an open D. So pretty much if I just strum the guitar without any frets, it's tuned to an open D chord. All right, and I came up with a simple progression / riff that I based the whole song around. So it sounds something like this. So that's pretty much the underlying chord progression under the entire song, and I'm thinking about just layering it, keeping it a little minimalistic, but we'll see how it goes. So given that the feel is kind of on the upbeat, I kind of want to match the click to that feel. That way, instead of just having a stale click, I can kind of make it into an instrument that I'm recording to. All right, so to do that, I'm going to flip this into eighth notes, and then I'm going to put the accent on the eighth note on the upbeat. So let's see. Let's do that. And just do like a regular shaker. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So we kind of got that upbeat kind of feel that matches the guitar riff. All right. So typically the first thing I like to do is at least start by laying down the primary instrument that I wrote the song on. So in this case, I wrote it on guitar. So the first thing I'll actually record is going to be those main guitar parts. Cool. So in that case, I'll make 2 new tracks. And I'm thinking about doubling these guitars, so that's why I'm naming them acoustic guitar left and right. I'm kind of going for that thicker, doubled acoustic guitar sound. All right, and then behind me in another area of the studio, I already have my mic set up to record, and I'm going to use the AKG C414. That thing sounds beautiful. So usually I'll take a few minutes to kind of dial in the mic position and really pinpoint the tone that I'm going for absolutely raw. The overall goal when I'm recording, especially live instruments, is to get the very best source sound possible. So straight off the mic, I really want it to sound phenomenal. Now that's not always easy to do, but at least if you aim for that every time, you're usually going to come out with really good recordings. All right, so I'll hop in front of the mic, I'll play around with the position, and we'll go for some takes. All right, sweet. So we got that first take in. I'm actually going to make these yellow. I don't know why. It just feels right. All right, so now I'll record my double, and we'll see how it sounds. Sweet, so we got our 2 acoustic guitar parts, and let's go in here and pan them out, and let's see how they sound. Let me mute the click. Yeah, nice and warm. Yeah. So that's pretty much the foundation for the entire song. So now I'm going to build off of that and start layering a couple more instruments. Now my process isn't always exactly the same every time. So sometimes I might track the vocals after I get that primary instrument part in there. But a lot of times I like to wait till the track is a little more produced, a little more built up. So that's probably the approach I'm going to take on this song. I'm going to build up the track a little bit more, and then I'm going to hit vocals towards the end. So since we have the main guitars in now, I'm probably going to attack drums next. I typically like to get drums or percussion in as early as I can, just because that really dictates the feel and the vibe and the energy of the overall track. So what I'm going to do now is take a little break. I'll go walk my dog, give my ears a rest, and I'll come back a little later, mic up the kit, and we'll get some drums in here. Ollie, come here. What's up, dude? Alright, so I'm back. I mic'd up the drum kit and I'm pretty much set up to track some drums. I just gotta make the tracks real quick. Alright, so I think I'm rocking about 14 mics. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm originally a drummer by trade, so I go a little overboard with drums. Alright, so I got a kick in, kick out. I'm using 2 snare top mics. One's a small diaphragm condenser, and one is an SM57 classic. Same thing on snare bottom. I'm using 2 toms, just a rack tom and a floor tom, and obviously overheads left and right. And I'm using a trash mic, so I have my trash mic on the floor angled towards kick, snare, hi-hat. Alright, and then I'm using a couple room mics, even though it's a smaller room. I actually am using mid-side in the bathroom. It's kind of funny, but it sounds cool. Alright, so I'm going to make these red. Alright, so we should be all set to go. So I'll hop on the kit, experiment a little bit, and then we'll lay down some takes. Alright, I'm breaking a sweat, but I think we got something cool. So we're going to check it out and kind of do a little rough mix. Let's see what we got. Trash mic. Probably gonna over compress that. Let's keep it down for now. Sweet, so not too shabby. Something I like to do is I want to make sure all the phase between the drum mics are pretty much aligned. So what I'll go ahead and do is find my pairs, like both the kick mics. And I'll align them so that they're perfectly in phase with each other. And that way I'm getting all the tone I can out of the kit. So I'll do the same thing for the snare mics. I'll pick a different group. So snare drum, Hit analyze. So it's not that I'm not paying attention to phase while I'm recording and placing mics. It's just that kind of extra reassurance that I'm getting the best phase relationship no matter what. Alright, so they do sound a little stale, and that's kind of where I want to go crazy on the trash mic. So we're going to pull up a little something real quick. So this is Virtual Mix Rack. It's really awesome, really versatile. Let's go with a distressor. So I'm going to kind of slam the trash mic really hard, and I'm going to solo it real quick. Make sure to gain match. So look how much tone of the room it brought out just from really compressing it super hard. Alright, so let's blend that back in. So it already adds a lot of character. But let's add some subtle distortion. See if we can dirty it up a little bit. So absolutely insanely compressed. Sounds weird solo, but we're gonna see how it blends in with the rest of the kit. And I actually might do a little EQ going into all that. That way I'm not getting all the cymbals and that kind of stuff. Alright, not vibing with that second compressor. Let's just go without it real quick. Alright, so we'll mess more with that later. I know I'm going to get some really sick effects out of that trash mic, but for now, I'm going to leave it there and we'll tackle that a little later on down the mix. So I think that's a pretty good stopping point for now. So I'm actually going to call it a day, and I'm going to come back tomorrow and start building the track up even more and see where it goes. Alright, so we're back at it. It's the next day. I kind of wanted to just finish up the rhythm section and get everything super tight before I start adding more layers. So the first thing I probably want to knock out is adding a bass part. So I kind of have a rough idea of a bass part that I want to add, but it's going to be a little bit of an experiment. So I'm just going to make a track and I'll color it purple because why not? So I'm going to use my 5-string Ibanez bass. This thing sounds freaking awesome, and I'm just gonna go for a couple takes and see what I end up with. so we ended up with a nice little bass part there. So actually, while I was recording the bass, I had a bit of an idea to give the track some ambience and kind of provide an atmosphere that sits under all the tracks. And kind of what I mean by that is usually I might take an atmospheric pad and wash it out with a bunch of reverb and just let it be just barely audible in the mix. But it almost fills in all the little gaps and just provides a nice blanket for the track to sit under. So with that being said, I'm going to import an ambient pad. So I actually bought an ambient pad track from this company called Multitracks. They're freaking awesome. So obviously I'm going to pick D because that's the key of my song. I'll put on a new track. I'm going to call that pad. Alright, so pretty sure it's like 10 minutes long. I'm going to cut it kind of where my track goes in. Let's see what it sounds like. So I haven't even done anything to it yet, and it already fills up the space just in a beautiful way. Yeah, that's nice. Sweet. So let me do a little fade out at the end. So probably what I'll do is I'm going to thin it out a little bit. That way it's not fighting all my low end and the bass. Just make it kind of mid-focused. And then I'm going to wash it out with some reverb just to make it a little more distant sounding. And go to huge spaces. This might be cool. Mess with the mix a little bit. Alright. So just kind of blending it into the track and just kind of making it sit under every element. Sweet, so we got that in. That reverb tail lasts forever. It's crazy. So I'm thinking of finishing out all the rhythmic stuff with some lighter percussion, maybe like a shaker and like a small tambourine on the accents and all that stuff. So the easiest thing to start with will probably be the shaker. So I'm going to go ahead and experiment with the parts a little bit and then add some shaker. Alright, so we got a little bit of shaker in there. So nothing too complex, just kind of complementary to the drums. And then the last little thing I'll probably add tonight is the tambourine part. And I like to use the tambourine to sort of drive the groove a little bit more in certain moments and also to accent the backbeat in certain moments too. So I got my little tambourine right here and we're going to see what we can come up with. And then I decided to kind of just bring the tambourine in later in the song around the second chorus and finish out strong during this little instrumental part. That way it doesn't get super monotonous and repetitive. So I consolidate that. So we got some percussion, some drums, some bass and a pad, and of course our guitars. So the groove is already starting to feel really nice in my opinion. I'm going to play the main chunk of the song and see what we got. throw my favorite compressor for bass on real quick. Sweet. So we got a nice little groove going on. So as far as the foundation of the track, I think what I have so far kind of covers that pretty well. We have the drums, percussion, bass, the main guitar, and a pad to sit under it all. So to be honest, I'm pretty happy with where the track is sitting right now. So on that note, I'll probably call it a night. I feel like this is a good spot to break away and come back fresh tomorrow. And tomorrow I want to experiment with some extra guitar layers. But I'm probably thinking more electric guitar, but on more of a clean tone, maybe a lot of reverb on it. I don't really know. It's going to be an experiment for sure, but I'm going to hit this fresh tomorrow and see what happens. Damn, life got crazy. It has been a while since I've been able to sit down and actually work on this song. The past few weeks just have been wild. I had some family friends come into town and stay at our place, and then not long after that, I got super sick with the flu that's been going around this year. I hate this time of year for that reason. So since then, I've just been trying to recover, get back to normal. I'm waiting on my voice to be 100% again, but I really am excited to be back and finish this thing off. But in the midst of all that craziness the past couple weeks, there are a couple things you might notice. I got a haircut. I did do some rearranging to the studio, some modifications to the room. As you can see, the wood paneling is done on that side like it wasn't before. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, I think the time away from the song might be beneficial in that it'll give me some new direction that I might not have been thinking of at the time I left off. But yeah, I think I left off with wanting to add some extra guitar layers with my electric. So I'm gonna start with that and see what happens. So just for reference, I'm going to play a little bit just to see where we left off. Alright, so almost there. I mean, drums, bass, percussion, guitar, some pad. The foundation is definitely there and a little bit of extra. So as far as the extra guitar layers, I'm not going to necessarily cover the whole song in them. I think I'm going to just bring them in and out of certain places and kind of change them up depending on the sections. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new track. I'll just call it the e-guitar rhythm for now, and that might change later, but we'll see. And for this part, I'm thinking of using my Univox Les Paul style guitar. This is a guitar handed down to me by my uncle. It's from the 70s, so this thing is about 50 and some change years old, but it still sounds amazing, and I just love playing it. So just for the sake of keeping this all organic, not that it has to be, just that I want to, I'm actually just going to plug in to an amp and mic the amp instead of going DI and maybe choosing an amp plugin. I kind of want to put the work on the front end, find a nice tone from the amp, and capture that. Now I don't have the best amps in the world, but I do have a Line 6 Spider, and with some effort and some creativity, that thing can sound pretty good, at least in my opinion. So I'm gonna mess with that a little bit, find a nice tone, and from there we'll do a take and see what we get. So we got a little rhythmic guitar layer there. I decided to come in with it around the second half of the first verse, continue through the rest of that drop, and then same concept, I came back in on the second half of the second verse and pretty much continued through that whole big section of the song up until the outro. Right now it's just one mono little layer. I'm honestly gonna do some things to make it a little cooler. I don't know what that is yet, but I'm gonna start with just adding a little reverb, making it stereo, even though it's not, obviously. So yeah, it gives it a little more ambience, kind of blends in the background of the track. There we go. See, in this production stage, I'm not too worried about the technicalities of mixing and all that. I'm just trying to get sounds on the fly sometimes, and that's one example of that. So we got an ambient little guitar layer to contrast the more dry acoustic, and so far I think it sounds pretty dope. Yeah, I think I want to add one more layer, which would be possibly more like a lead. So I'll probably come up with a little lead line on the guitar, and I'll probably layer it on the bigger sections like after the drop each time and throughout this little extended instrumental that I have at the end. So same concept, I'm going to hop on the amp, try to find a cool tone, come up with a little lead part, and we'll go for a take. Lead part in there, and same kind of concept. I just started building on some effects, trying to dial in a certain sound for this lead layer, but I'll show you what I started with right off the amp. So we got a little simple little lead part, and then I just added some delay to it and some verb. And I kind of wanted to build more of that atmospheric sound, so kind of sounds like this right now. So without the effects, it's cool, but a little boring, right? So those effects just kind of put it out there, put it into the atmosphere of this whole song. So I'm cool with keeping that for now. I think I really like those effects. I'm going to make my electrics green, and then I'll put these guys after the acoustics. Sweet. So where I'm at now with the song, I feel like it's pretty full, it's pretty dense, it has a lot of elements, a lot of atmosphere. So I'm probably not going to add too much more to the instrumental part of this track. The only thing that I thought of that I want to try is maybe adding strings just to come in on that bigger instrumental part. So just to give that final push into that climax of the song. So I'm probably going to experiment with some MIDI stuff. I might use something from Spitfire. I have a couple of cool originals from Spitfire that sound really good in my opinion. And the thing I want to try is the epic strings from Spitfire. And if you know Spitfire, you know that their sounds are incredible. They do amazing stuff. And just for reference, I'll pull up this little keyboard. Sweet, so I'm gonna mess around with this a little bit, find a part that complements that section, and then we'll see what happens. Alright, so we got a little string part just as that final kind of cherry on top to really sell that climax of the song. So what I'll do real quick, I'm pretty happy with the sound and everything MIDI wise, so I'm going to commit that to audio. Alright, and I'll go ahead and consolidate that. Alright, so everything is pretty in place. I don't think that there's any empty space or any spots that something feels missing per se. But something I did want to try to just finish this off, I wanted to try to add a couple cymbal rolls in the transitions throughout the song just to give it that extra push leading into each new section. Now obviously I could have recorded these cymbal rolls myself, but the reason I'm going with a pre-recorded sample is I'm not in a big enough room to match the sound that I want to get out of these cymbal rolls. So when you hear them, you'll probably notice that they sound really big, and I wanted to simulate that, so I went with a sample instead. So yeah, I kind of placed them in just those big transitional moments that you see here, and we can take a listen real quick. So this is right before that first drop. Yeah, so it's just ushering in that new phrase each time with that nice cymbal roll. So the samples I picked naturally have somewhat of a bigger sound to them, but to make them sound even bigger and more atmospheric, I just added some verb. That way the tail end of the roll can kind of extend out and have some ambience to it. So I stumbled upon this concert wave in vintage verb, and I thought it sounded really cool. So we'll take a listen real quick just so you can see how it sounds. So instead of dying down really quick like before, right, I kind of make that decay just carry on for a little bit. And this reverb patch in particular kind of has a nice shimmer to that decay, and you'll see what I mean. So I just love how that carries on with a nice kind of smooth high-end shimmer is the best way I could put it. All right, so we'll consolidate that. All right, so I'm kind of out of ideas as far as building the instrumental for this track, but at the same time, I don't think it really needs anything else. It's a very minimalistic song. It has the elements it needs with a few cherries on top. Now, even though it's not mixed yet, you know, it's super dry, super raw right now, I think it still has a lot of energy, a lot of magic to it. And I'm actually pretty stoked for this track. So yeah, I'm gonna call this a good checkpoint for today, a good breaking point. And tomorrow, I'm actually gonna lay down the vocals. And to be honest, as far as recording goes, I think that's it. I mean, the whole track is here, and once the vocals are in there, it's just gonna be the song. So yeah, I'm super stoked to get the vocals in tomorrow, and I think after that, it's pretty much done. So after I get the vocals in, I'll give it a proper mix down, and we're gonna listen to the final product together. So yeah, once again, super stoked, super excited to finish this thing. I hope you've been enjoying the process so far as much as I have. And with that being said, we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. Alright, so it's a new day, and it's finally time to lay down some vocals on this track. I've been anticipating this moment for a long time. I've spent the morning kind of just warming up my voice, practicing a little bit, and just getting ready to record. I do have a habit of drinking coffee before I sing. I know it's not the best practice, but what can I say? I'm addicted to caffeine. But yeah, so I've been spending the whole morning warming up a little bit and getting ready to record. For this track in particular, I already have like a general vocal sound that I'm going for. So if you're familiar with artists like SYML or Hollow Coves or anyone in that kind of indie folk space, you probably noticed that they have a very stacked, thick, kind of like tripled vocal sound. So what I kind of mean by that is for the main melody, the main vocal of the song, instead of one singular just standalone take of that lead vocal, it almost sounds like there's two additional vocals of the same part, same melody, same everything. And it just gives this like thick yet intimate vocal sound that I personally have fallen in love with, and I kind of want to try to imitate that in this track. Alright, so I'm going to set myself up to do some leads. I might as well make 3 right now. Alright, so I'm going to take this time now to go ahead and lay down the lead vocal. And sometimes for me that could be a bit of a process just to make sure I get the best performance. Alright, so I'm going to hop behind the mic and I'm just going to go for it. So let's see what happens.
We lay here, lost in time. We dream as the day goes by, just longing, waiting for a sign to lead us into the night. And I would give up all I own
Alright, so we ended up with a pretty solid lead vocal here. Luckily nothing too challenging. It's a very simple, kind of lower in my range melody, so it wasn't too hard to tackle. And what I did off camera was just, punching in certain spots that I thought could be better, comping a few things, and ended up consolidating it to make one master take, which is what you see there. Let's just take a listen to a little bit.
I give up on all I've known, 'cause I knew that you would be my home, and I'd still throw it all away, as long as you're here to stay.
Yeah, so, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I find myself always writing like a tagline like that, which usually ends up being the name of the song, and in this case,
as long as you're here to stay.
Yeah, so right before the drop, I dropped that line, hence the name of the song, Here to Stay, right? Alright, so hopefully you're hearing what I'm hearing in my mind, and it's that the lead vocal just by itself, I don't know, like I was mentioning earlier, I already have a sound in my head, but objectively I do think the lead vocal just sounds so bare, so thin by itself. And once I get the double and the triple in there, pan them out a little bit, I think it's going to sound freaking awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and tackle the double and then the triple after that, and keep in mind they're the exact same melody, same timing, same everything of the main lead. It's just so that they can be there to thicken up the lead vocal and just make it one thick, nice, intimate lead vocal. Alright, so once again, I'll hop behind the mic. I'm going to lay down the double and the triple, and then we'll see how everything sounds all together.
And I'm forgetting how it used to be, without you here next to me. Was blind to the life in front of me, and lost faith in everything I give.
Alright, so we got the double and the triple in there now. My voice is freaking tired, but I think we made it out alive. We're going to check out how everything sounds. So I didn't pan them out just yet. I just kind of laid them down, got them in there, and that way, once I kind of mess with them, I can start to build that sound I heard in my head. Alright, so let's see what we got.
We lay here, lost in time. We dream as the day goes by, just longing, waiting for a sign.
Yes, I could pan them hard left and right, but I kind of want to still leave space for all the synths and the reverbs and all that stuff. Plus, since it's still a lead vocal, I still want it to be very strong in the center. So I did make the decision to just pan them soft left, soft right, if that's even a term. That way their presence in the center is still a little bit stronger, as opposed to if I pan them all the way hard left, hard right. So, I mean, I think it thickens it up really nicely, and it kind of gives it, I don't know, I can't put it into words, like a nice feel, just very,
now we watch as
very intimate,
the sun
folky
is
feel.
fading out.
Just so you can hear the difference, I'm gonna mute the double and triple.
And now we watch as the sun
Just doesn't
is
feel the same.
fading out.
Back in.
So thankful for where we are now, together. We couldn't be more proud.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the combination of the subtle timing differences, the subtle tone differences. For whatever reason, it just works like magic. I mean, I'm pretty sold on this sound. Alright, so I'm really fighting not to overproduce, but I think the only thing left I hear are just a couple like vocal ad-lib moments. And I'm not necessarily thinking like a full harmony part or like a full stack. None of that really. I think I just want to emphasize maybe the hook. So this part, I think I might emphasize that somehow with a couple stacks and possibly some ad-libs in between this space. I mean, I don't know. It could go a lot of ways. I'm just going to play around with a couple things and see what sounds best. And yeah, we'll see what we end up with.
As long as you're here to stay. As long as you're here to stay.
Alright, so it took some experimenting, but as you can see, I didn't add too much. Just wanted to, like I said earlier, emphasize certain moments. Let's see what we got. I did already pan them out kind of a little bit, just messing around, but let's see.
It all away, as long as you're here to stay.
So I was experimenting with harmonies, this and that, and for at least this part, and I added it here as well, I just tried like an upper octave just to thicken it up even more, and I don't know, I kind of thought that's all it really needed, so let's hear it again.
So we threw it all away, as long as you're here to stay.
Yeah, so just the upper octave, and I just doubled that way I can have a left and a right, nothing too crazy. And then I just added a couple more stacks on this part on the second drop. Let's check that out.
As long as you're here to stay.
I did emphasize this part as well. I'll play with the lead.
As long as you're here to stay. Oh, as long as you're here to stay. Oh, as long as you're here to stay.
Yeah, so I mean, might be a little messy, but I'll kind of dial it in a little bit more as I go. But yeah, that's kind of the general concept, just kind of emphasizing certain parts. Octave kind of thing on the drop, same deal with a harmony. And then I kind of did a whole vocal stack for this part as well. And yeah, I think it's safe to say that I'm done. I really don't think it needs anything else. I kind of was stretching a little bit with this, but I think the backgrounds I added were pretty minimal and it did serve the song fairly well. But other than that, I mean, as far as adding things, I don't think it really needs anything else or would benefit for anything else. So yeah, with that being said, I think I'm going to call this done as far as the production and the recording part of things. So what I'll end up doing is I'm going to get these tracks prepped for mixing, and I'll get everything nice and cleaned up to start mixing tomorrow morning. So realistically, I'll probably take about a day or two to get this thing mixed, and I'd say that gives me enough buffer time to, you know, dial everything in how I want, make sure the blend is nice, and most importantly, have some time to take breaks and to step away from the song. Because a lot of times when you're mixing, especially if it's your own song, it's really hard to stay objective when you're just going at it for hours and hours and you start to lose direction. So in my opinion, it's always good to mix for a little bit, step away, mix again, step away, and just give yourself time to really pinpoint on the direction that you want to go with the mix and just kind of tackle it and get it done. Alright, so I'm going to take the next couple days to, you know, just really dial in the mix and get everything sounding great. And through the beauty of editing, by the next scene, I'll have this song all done, finished, mixed, everything ready to take a final listen together and see the final result of all this hard work. So if you did happen to stick around for this entire video, I just want to say I really appreciate your viewership, and I really do hope you got some good value out of this. You know, I'm just sharing my process. There's a million different ways to do this, and I just wanted to share and document how I like to write and produce and all those things. So again, I really hope you got a lot out of it and that you enjoyed the video, and by the next scene we'll have a finished mix ready to listen through together. So until then, I have a lot of work to do on this song, so I'll catch up with you guys in a couple days once I got the final mix. Peace. So I spent the last couple days mixing the song, trying to dial it in, make everything sound nice, and I gotta say, I'm really stoked with how it came out. Now, something that made the mixing process a little bit easier this time compared to previous mixes was it was a very simple instrumentation. So just drums, bass, couple guitars, pads, and vocals. I mean, there wasn't too much other than that. So mixing everything and making them all work together was a little bit easier than if I had a million different elements at the same time. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy to say that I'm finished with this song finally. I mean, it's been a long process in general, but getting sick in the middle of it and having to deal with a couple other things, it made the process a little bit longer than I was expecting. But I mean, that's just life, you know, stuff happens. You can't really plan for stuff like that. And I think that it's not really a bad thing if something takes longer than expected, especially when it comes to your art. And like a lot of people, I use music as an avenue to express myself and to wear my heart on my sleeve, if you will, and things like that. So even if it takes a week or a month or even a year to finish something, I think when you finally reach the end with something you're really proud of, it's always gonna be a rewarding feeling no matter what. So with all that being said, I promised you guys a listen through, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So given that I've been mixing all morning and practically just finished like not even half an hour ago, I do want to give my ears and my mind just a little bit of a break from hearing the song, just so that I can gain back some objectivity. So a lot of times what I like to do is actually get out of the studio, and I like to go out somewhere maybe near nature, somewhere peaceful that I can kind of just sit down and listen to the final mix without a lot of distractions, without the project open in front of me that I can keep touching and tweaking every time I hear something, and pretty much anything else that's going to take away from just the process of actively listening to the song. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm going to bounce out this final mix and go ahead and close the project. That way I can kind of chill a little bit, make some coffee, get ready to go and find a nice spot to go ahead and listen to this final mix. So I actually decided to come to one of my favorite spots out here in Orlando. It's up in Winter Park, and it's like this very beautiful scenic park with a bridge and a lake, and I honestly just like to come here when I need to, you know, unwind, get out of the dark cave, aka the studio, and just kind of, you know, reset my mind, my ears. And I just like coming here to take the opportunity to have a peaceful moment throughout the day. Usually I'm just super slammed with trying to finish projects and going here and there. So it's just a good way for me to get out, break things up, and just kind of have a nice moment. And I will honestly admit that it might seem a little extra to come all the way out here to take one final listen, but I think it's for a few reasons. One being, I wanted to break away from my usual listening environment, which is in the studio. And I feel like when you're in the studio, you have the project accessible to you. You're gonna wanna keep tinkering and adjusting and tweaking all these things. And I honestly feel like you never truly find a point where you feel like it's finished. So I've been mixing all morning. I found that I hit a point where it's like I'm just doing unnecessary tweaks, and that's kind of when I know that I'm done. So I wanted to come out here, give my ears a nice long break from mixing this morning, and also just to have time away and gain back some objectivity as I listen to the final mix. And also it is worth saying that I just wanted to come here and relax and kind of take a break from just being locked in my dark cave, aka the studio. So I'm gonna pick a nice spot to sit, and we're gonna have a final listen together, and I hope you guys enjoy.
We lay here, lost in time. We dream as the day goes by, just longing, waiting for a sign to lead us into the night. And I would give up all I own if I knew that I could call you home. Yes, I would throw it all away as long as you're here to stay. And I'm forgetting how it used to be without you here next to me. Was blind to the life in front of me and lost faith in everything. But I give up on all I've known, 'cause I knew that you would be my home. And I'd still throw it all away as long as you're here to stay. As long as you're here to stay. Oh, as long as you're here to stay. And now we watch as the sun is fading out. So thankful for where we are now, together, and couldn't be more proud of this moment we're in right now. And if there's one thing you should know, with you I'll always feel right at home. I never thought I'd see this day, but I'm so glad that you're here to stay.
All right, so I would wrap up the video right now, but it just started raining like crazy on me, so I'm gonna head inside and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right, so I ended up getting rained on at the very end of that listen through, so I went ahead and ran to my car and I just decided to come back home to the studio, so here we are. So I just wanted to close out this video by saying a massive massive thank you to anyone who has stuck around and watched this entire video up till now. I really hope you guys got a ton of value out of this. I'm definitely going to keep doing videos like this where I produce a song from beginning to end. And eventually my goal is to, build a community of other producers, other songwriters, and just facilitate a creative community between all of us. And lastly, if I could ask for one massive, huge favor from you guys. If you did enjoy this video and want to see a ton more like this, definitely feel free to like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you can get a heads up every time I post a new video like this. So one last time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.